Ryan, he was everywhere. He acted like the CFO, the creative director, and king of the castle, one employee recalled. He'd mock people, rewrite everything, then blame us for delays.
Ryan Reynolds is now in full meltdown mode after his disgusting workplace conduct was finally exposed. What was once brushed off is now clearly seen for what it was: pure manipulation and unchecked arrogance.
God help you if you disagreed with him.
Back in 2014, while hiding behind Blake's failed brand, Preserve, Ryan was reportedly screaming at staff, mocking their mental health, and even pushing some into taking medication just to survive the toxic environment.
Corsair says that Ryan always plays the nice guy, but the truth is, he ran Preserve as a tyrant.
Blake Lively played the role of Hollywood's sweetheart while quietly destroying lives behind closed doors. In 2014, she made headlines for launching her dreamy lifestyle brand, Preserve.
Preserve, there was a big expose in Daily Mail last week about it.
It was supposed to be Goop meets Pinterest, rustic charm and handcrafted flair, but behind all the honey-glazed aesthetics and vintage filters was a complete disaster. What no one realized then was that Ryan Reynolds wasn't just Blake's supportive husband. He was running the entire operation, and not in a good way.
6 of her employees came out and said it was a horrible place to work.
Former staff didn't mince words. They didn't call it disorganized or stressful. They called it a horrible place to work. The stories now portray Ryan not as the funny, charming guy he pretends to be, but as a control freak. He didn't just give creative input. He acted as CFO, creative director, and CEO all in one. He would barge in, insult everyone's work, rewrite everything, then vanish, leaving chaos behind. And when delays happened, which was often, he made sure everyone, but himself, took the fall.
Source claimed there were times people didn't get paid for weeks, but Ryan always made sure his people got what they needed. Everyone else, disposable.
The worst part wasn't just the mood swings or constant humiliation, it was how people were paid, or rather not paid. Ryan had favorites who got paid on time, every time. The rest, forgotten. Some employees waited up to 3 months for basic salaries. Junior staff and assistants had to chase down payments, while Ryan ensured his inner circle was pampered. This wasn't a case of mismanagement. It was systemic. Preserve didn't fail because of the market. It failed because Ryan created a toxic environment that self-destructed.
Them even sued Blake Lively. 3 out of 8 employees sued her.
Out of 8 full-time employees, 3 ended up suing Blake. That's nearly half the team. Though Blake took the public blow, insiders say Ryan was the real problem, pulling strings, making decisions, and dismantling the company from the inside.
And they were paid hush money, apparently, and Leslie Sloan, Blake Lively's publicist, and Ryan Reynolds' publicist, helped bury the...
And it gets uglier. Those lawsuits, they never went to court. They vanished. All 3 employees were allegedly paid off with hush money. Not standard severance, but true hush deals. The goal wasn't justice or resolution, it was silence. Clean. Exits. No headlines. And just like that, the meltdown disappeared, buried under NDAs and never spoken of again, until now.
Of course, we all know that too. So Radar Online is referring to a story written by Rob Shooter on Substack, where he says that Blake barely showed up.
What we're seeing now isn't just the fall of a brand, it's the unraveling of a carefully curated public image. Ryan built his persona as the relatable husband and sarcastic nice guy. But those who worked with him saw something else. Ego, manipulation, and someone who knew exactly what he was doing and just didn't care.
And he was everywhere. He acted like the CFO, the creative director, and king of the castle.
Let me be clear. Ryan Reynolds didn't just stroll into Preserve with a few light suggestions. He ruled it like a micro-dictatorship. Multiple former employees said nothing moved without his say. Every project needed his sign-off. Even when things were nearly done, he'd step in, tear it apart, and redo it. Then, when delays or confusion followed, he blamed the very people he'd overruled. This wasn't just controlling, it was calculated. The power dynamic at Preserve made no sense at all.
God help you if you disagreed with him. Ryan would breeze in, criticize everyone's work, then disappear, one employee recalled. He'd mock people, rewrite everything, then blame us for delays.
One of the strangest decisions was when Blake's brother, Eric Lively, who hadn't been relevant since his short acting career in the early 2000s, was suddenly named creative director. Staff were stunned. Insider reports, including one from Rob Shooter's Substack, said this decision came straight from Ryan. Eric had zero background in branding or direction. The only reason? Ryan wanted someone he could control, someone who wouldn't challenge him, and Eric fit the mold perfectly.
Worst part, Blake would let him. I think this sounds pretty familiar, right?
That same Rob Shooter article laid it out plainly. Ryan wasn't a silent partner. He was running the show. Staff described him as acting like a king, strutting in, making sweeping criticisms, then disappearing. Meanwhile, Blake Lively was mostly absent. Her name and face were on everything, but inside the company she was practically invisible. Ryan ran the meetings, made the calls, and drove Preserve straight into the ground.
His brother Eric was hired as Preserve creative director, as decision staffers believe Reynolds pushed for. So they're saying here that Ryan was the one who actually got Eric the job. I don't know. I'm guessing Blake had something to say there too.
One former employee even said, "He humiliated us. If you disagreed with him, you were frozen out for weeks." This wasn't about being tough or direct. It was about fear. People stopped contributing ideas because they knew Ryan would ridicule them. If someone spoke up, they were sidelined, excluded from meetings, ignored in emails. That's how things worked there.
And I feel like that's exactly how we've been seeing him, what he's been doing on it ends with us as well.
Preserve's failure wasn't due to bad marketing or economic timing. It was because of a toxic workplace culture fueled by control, ego, and intimidation. Every mistake had Ryan's fingerprints all over it. Yet somehow, none of the blame ever stuck to him.
People have been speculating that he is the mastermind behind all of this, the takeover of the movie. I don't know. I think they work as a team, but this is kind of revealing as well.
One of the most disturbing revelations from the Preserve fallout is how NDAs were used, not as legal safeguards, but as weapons to silence people permanently.
Source claimed, I know someone who got $300,000 just to sign on an NDA and never speak about what happened.
Radar Online and follow-ups from Rob Shooter reported that at least one employee was paid $300,000, not for wrongful termination or abuse, but to stay silent. No lawsuits, no interviews, no tweets, just a massive check and a permanent gag order.
Is that bad? Also in the Substack article, it says here that they sold the world this fairy tale marriage and wholesome business image. But behind the scenes, it was all smoke and mirrors, and Ryan was holding the match.
And it wasn't some early precaution. It came after the worst damage. This employee worked directly under Ryan during Preserve's decline and had documented emotional manipulation, verbal abuse, and underpayment. There were emails, texts, recordings, the kind of evidence that ruins careers. Weeks after they left, the deal was made, the money paid, and the employee erased from history. It wasn't a one-time thing. Multiple staff anonymously confirmed NDAs were standard. Mention, Ryan, you got a reminder. Push harder, you got a payout. Translation, take the money and vanish.
He sent me. Thank you so much, Katie. This is interesting.
That's why Preserve collapsed within a year, yet had no scandal attached. It stayed a quiet failure for nearly a decade until Radar Online published a feature in 2024. By then, Blake and Ryan had rebranded as America's golden couple. The fallout had been managed so tightly, most forgot Preserve ever existed. That kind of PR control doesn't happen naturally. It's engineered. While the world laughed at Ryan's tweets, employees were silenced with 5- and 6-figure deals. Preserve wasn't a failed business. It was a vanity project built on fear, favoritism, and NDAs. And now, in a twist of irony, Blake Lively, claims she's the victim of workplace toxicity in her case against Justin Baldoni.
And while Blake is now positioning herself as a victim of workplace toxicity in her legal battle against It Ends With Us, director Justin Baldoni Insider says she and Ryan ran their own dysfunctional empire and used money to make it all disappear.
In court filings, Blake's legal team described her as a woman who endured a hostile and unsafe work environment during filming. The irony? That's the exact language Preserve employees used about working with her and Ryan. The only difference? Those employees never got to tell their stories. Every time one tried, a check arrived, a contract followed, and their name vanished from the timeline.
People were paid off, one source claimed. I know someone who got $300,000 just to sign on an NDA.
As Rob Shooter put it best, Preserve was toxic, but not because of pressure. It was because of the people running it. Now that the curtain's being pulled back, the truth is out. These NDAs weren't hiding a brand failure. They were hiding abuse. All wrapped in branding, sold with a smile. In a cozy US Weekly interview in September 2024, Caitlin Olsen casually admitted she'd only met Blake Lively twice.
To follow, unfollow, block each other to show the world where they stand. Something we learned when Justin Baldoni was blocked.
Once at an award show, once briefly at a Wrexham match. That's it. No sleepovers, no mutual vacations, no girl-boss friendship moments, just 2 run-ins. So when, 3 months later in December 2024, Caitlin appeared in court praising Blake, as kind, lovely, honest, and generous, people noticed, and they didn't buy it.
Blocked me, and his publicists were replying like, oh my god, is he 12? What's happening? And the reason he did that was because at that point there were no SH allegations. There was this list of points that he was supposed to, that they blackmailed Justin Baldoni to sign off on.
The timeline's clear. Blake filed the lawsuit against Baldoni in early November 2024, claiming she was emotionally distressed on set. Then, like clockwork, public praise from friends appeared. Most notably, Caitlin Olsen. But the issue is simple. There's no real friendship. No interviews, podcasts, photos, events, or birthday shoutouts. Just 2 random meetings. Suddenly, she's Blake's character witness?
Olsen is interviewed in Us Weekly, and she said she only met Blake twice. So that they're such close friends? Not really.
This might not seem like a red flag on its own, but the pattern is just too precise. In a 2023 Substack post, Rob Shooter described the inner workings of Blake and Ryan's PR strategy as scripted alliances. He specifically pointed out how they often rely on soft press and curated relationships to craft public narratives. And in the Baldwin situation, it appears they deployed that exact playbook, pulling in public figures to lend credibility, regardless of whether the friendships are genuine.